Ganjing world, a bright.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. The U.S. is not rushing trade deals ahead of the August 1st deadline. That's according to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, plus what he says about trade talks with China. 2 illegal immigrants are now in custody for their alleged involvement in the shooting of a Customs and Border Patrol officer. Jason Blair has the details. An Ecuadorian gang leader is set to appear in U.S. federal court. He faces charges of international drug and weapons trafficking. Attorneys for Harvard and the Justice Department went head-to-head today at a hearing where they asked a federal judge to make a final ruling on a $2 billion funding freeze. Alaska Airlines resumes flights after grounding its entire fleet. The carrier says a hardware failure at a data center is to blame. What are the concerns of allowing NVIDIA's H20 chips to be exported to China? What applications can China use the chips for? We talked to a military analyst. Russia and Ukraine keep attacking each other. Civilians on both sides are suffering from the incoming attacks.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. Attorneys for Harvard University argued before a federal judge today that the Trump administration's freeze on $2 billion in research funding is unlawful. The school and the Justice Department appeared before U.S. District Judge Allison Burroughs. The university's lawyers specifically asked in a court filing that Burroughs be assigned to this case because of her involvement in a related case. They argued today that the freeze in part puts the university's medical, scientific, and technological research at risk, and that it violates their speech rights under the First Amendment. The government has accused Harvard of failing to prevent anti-Semitism on its campus. It argues that universities are not automatically entitled to federal funding, as they must abide by the administration's conditions. Burroughs has not yet ruled. Salvadorian illegal immigrant Kilmar Abrego Garcia will remain in the U.S. custody for another 30 days. The Justice Department today reached an agreement with his lawyers. Abrego Garcia will remain in U.S. criminal custody in Tennessee while his lawyers evaluate his legal options. The Trump administration plans to deport him again from the U.S. following his release. A trial scheduled for January 2026 is now scrapped. Abrego Garcia is an illegal immigrant from El Salvador who was erroneously deported in March against a court order. He returned to the U.S. in June. Abrego Garcia's lawyers are waiting for a U.S. district judge to issue a temporary restraining order preventing ICE from deporting him immediately. The acting head of Immigration and Customs Enforcement says his agency is ramping up enforcement not just on illegal immigrants, but also on the American companies that hire them. Speaking on CBS Face the Nation.
Not only are we focused on those individuals that are, working here illegally, we're focused on these American companies that are actually exploiting these laborers, these people that came here for a better life, either, forced labor, child trafficking. A lot of these worksite cases just isn't a victimless crime of someone here working illegally. And that's why we're going there with these criminal warrants to focus on these American businesses that are trying to make an extra dollar on the backs of these people that came here for a better life.
Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons made those comments yesterday. Meanwhile, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass yesterday criticized the Trump administration for allowing ICE agents to wear masks during operations. Bass says it undermines accountability and sends the wrong message to local law enforcement. The LA mayor argued that LAPD officers identify themselves openly and don't use masks. ICE has defended the practice, saying it protects agents and their families from retaliation. An off-duty Border Patrol agent is recovering in the hospital after being shot in New York City on Saturday. Authorities say one of the suspects is an illegal immigrant with a criminal history. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and Border Czar Tom Homan were among the officials who provided more details this morning.
One of the suspected attackers, the one that was injured, his name is Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez, a Dominican national that was entering into this country illegally back in 2023. He was then released back into this country by the Biden administration. Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez and has a rap sheet that is a mile long. He was arrested. He was charged with grand larceny and also assault. The state of Massachusetts has an active warrant out for him for armed robbery with a firearm. He also has many other charges against him, such as kidnapping and witness intimidation. There's absolutely zero reason that someone who is scum of the earth like this should be running loose on the streets of New York City.
Every sanctuary city is unsafe. I'll say it again, sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. And I'm going to work very hard for Secretary Noem to keep President Trump's promise and his commitment several weeks ago that sanctuary cities are now our priority. We're going to flood the zone.
Noem added that the suspect had previously been arrested 4 times in New York City. The incident happened just before midnight on Saturday in Fort Washington Park in Upper Manhattan. Authorities say the off-duty agent was sitting under the George Washington Bridge when the suspect approached him. Police say the man pulled out a gun. The off-duty officer realized he was being robbed and pulled his own weapon. A shootout ensued. Authorities say the officer was hit in the face and arm. The suspect was shot in the leg and groin and later showed up at a Bronx hospital. The August 1st deadline for tariffs on imports to the U.S. is less than 2 weeks away. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick expressed confidence yesterday that the United States can still secure a trade deal with the European Union. NTD's Daniel Monahan reports on the latest negotiations and public opinion on the economy from a recent poll.
Howard Lutnick said he had just gotten off the phone with European trade negotiators, and there was plenty of room for agreement, speaking on Sunday to CBS's Face the Nation.
Look, the president and the European Union, these are the 2 biggest trading partners in the world talking to each other. We'll get a deal done.
President Trump threatened on July 12th to impose a 30% tariff on imports from Mexico and the European Union, starting on August 1st, after weeks of negotiations failed to reach a comprehensive trade deal. Lutnick emphasized that key trading partners will ultimately realize it's better to open their markets to the U.S. than face significant tariffs. However, he says no country will completely avoid tariffs, saying at least a 10% tariff will remain, with many countries facing even higher rates.
That's just the way it's going to be, because we can't have these $1 trillion trade deficit. It's just wrong for America, and Donald Trump is going to fix it.
When asked if companies would pass higher costs from tariffs onto consumers, Lutnick responded,
What's so interesting is that you're worried about the importers. How about the people who build and employ Americans
No, I'm asking if people go to the
people
store
who
to
make cars here, people who manufacture here. They don't pay a tariff. They don't pay a tariff at all. So President Trump says it all the time. Build in America, you don't pay a tariff.
A new poll CBS released on Sunday says public opinion on the Trump administration's tariff agenda has been mixed. Roughly 61% of respondents said the administration is putting too much focus on levying tariffs on trading partners, while 70% said it's not putting enough focus on lowering prices. Overall, 60% said they oppose the new tariffs on imports, while 40% say they support the duties. Lutnick shrugged off the poll findings.
Oh, they're going to love the deals that President Trump and I are doing. I mean, they're just going to love them. Farmers, ranchers, fishermen. This is going to be, the next 2 weeks are going to be weeks for the record books. President Trump is going to deliver for the American people.
South Korea is also taking notice of the upcoming August 1st deadline. Authorities say the country's national security advisor is in Washington. The trip comes just 2 weeks after his last visit to Washington for talks on tariffs and security. There were no immediate details on who he was planning to meet. Trump earlier this month said he planned to impose a 25% tariff on South Korea from August 1st. Meanwhile, Japan's top negotiator said Saturday he will visit the United States soon to continue trade talks. Tokyo is hoping to reach a deal to avert a 25% tariff. Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's ruling coalition failed on Monday to secure a majority in the 248-seat upper house in a crucial parliamentary election. The results further shake the stability of Ishiba's government as Japan faces challenges such as rising prices and U.S. tariffs. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Commerce Secretary Lutnick said yesterday that President Trump will renegotiate the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement next year. The USMCA was enacted during Trump's first term in July 2020, replacing the North American Free Trade Agreement. The agreement requires that 75% of automobile components be made in the United States, Mexico, or Canada for a vehicle to qualify for tariff-free treatment. The trade agreement also mandates that up to 45% of parts and components be made by workers earning at least $16 per hour. It also includes a provision requiring the three nations to review the deal every 6 years from its enactment. Lutnick said yesterday it would make perfect sense for Trump to renegotiate the deal as part of an effort to protect U.S. workers. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the Trump administration is more concerned with the quality of trade agreements rather than their timing. Bessent spoke to CNBC in an interview this morning. He said President Trump will decide whether the August deadline could be extended for countries engaged in productive talks. On China, he said there would be talks in the very near future. Take a listen.
We're not going to rush for the sake of doing deals. We'll see what the president wants to do, but again, if we somehow boomerang back to the August 1st tariffs, I would think that a higher tariff level will put more pressure on those countries to come with better agreements.
What's the latest on China?
Joe, we're going to be engaging in talks in the very near future, and the talks are in a very good place. We had a meeting in Geneva, meeting in London, and I think trade is in a good place, and I think now we can start talking about other things. You know, the Chinese, unfortunately, are very large purchasers of sanctioned Iranian oil, sanctioned Russian oil. So we could start discussing that. We could also discuss the elephant in the room, which is this great rebalancing that the Chinese need to do.
Bessent told CNBC he would encourage Europe to follow the U.S. if it implements secondary tariffs on Russia. On Japan, Bessent said the administration was less concerned with its domestic politics than with getting the best deal for Americans. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth welcomed the president of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., to the Pentagon today. Marco is in the U.S. to meet with the Trump administration and secure a trade deal. Here's Hegseth.
Our storied alliance has never been stronger or more essential than it is today. And together we remain committed to the Mutual Defense Treaty. And this pact extends to armed attacks on our armed forces, aircraft, or public vessels, including our Coast Guards, anywhere in the Pacific, including the South China Sea.
The Philippine president will meet with Trump tomorrow. He hopes to negotiate a more favorable trade deal before the August 1st deadline. Marcos will be the first Southeast Asian leader to meet Trump in his second term. Trump has already struck trade deals with two of the Philippines' regional partners, Vietnam and Indonesia. The U.S. traded with the Philippines last year at a deficit of nearly $5 billion. The Philippines is a key U.S. ally with a strategic position in the Asia-Pacific. A record high proportion of U.S. companies in China have frozen new investment plans, with tariffs and U.S.-China relations among their top concerns. And this is according to a U.S.-China Business Council survey. Joining us now to discuss is Daniel Lacalle. He's the chief economist at Tressis and author of the book Freedom or Equality. Good afternoon, Daniel. Always good to see you. So the survey apparently shows a dramatic jump in companies not choosing to invest in China, rising from 20% to 52% in just a year. So what do you think, why do you think we're seeing a record high number of U.S. companies, freezing new investment in China?
Thank you, Don. There are a number of important factors, and not all of them are related to trade or tariffs. There's been a growing concern among the business community about legal and investor security in China. The risk of losing control of intellectual property, the problems of working capital, the challenges of overcapacity, copying trademark and different industrial products. All these factors are among the reasons why U.S. companies have decided to move their investments to other nations, particularly, I would say, the closer to India, for example, or other countries, no? Even closer to the United States, the so-called nearshoring. So I would say that there are three reasons. Number one is obviously that the trade agreement between the United States and China assumes that China will continue with the elevated problems that many companies find with capital controls, currency exchange controls, and lack of legal and investor security. So very few of these elements have been improved or lifted. The second is that a lot of companies are finding more let's say, profitable or at least less costly opportunities to invest in other countries in which financing and where overcapacity is not are not issues. No, and the third one is nearshoring, is trying to get supply chains closer to the final customer. So all those things are put together in something that already started prior to COVID in 2019.
So, you know, Daniel, when I was looking at this survey, maybe I perhaps thought that this was more sort of a short-term uncertainty is due to that. But from what you're hearing, it could potentially be a long-term thing where investment keeps freezing.
I think that it's much more concerning than just a short-term impact from trade negotiations. If you think about it, in the past 8 to 9 years, we have seen that the Chinese economy, instead of opening, instead of lifting capital controls, lifting the currency controls, instead of lifting the barriers to finance and the challenges for legal and investor security in terms of intellectual property, what we have seen is the opposite. We have seen that the Chinese economy has been closing quite significantly and has been reaching strategic agreements with countries that also have significant trade and legal and investor barriers. So for US companies, that is a very difficult environment to work in. And if we add to all those factors that it is not a cheap let's say, labor and cheap cost country anymore, then all those things get together to show that it's a more long-term trend than a short-term impact from a trade negotiation.
So you mentioned the economy. Actually, the survey also talks about deflation in a number of sectors. So my question to you is, you know, China's slowing economy, would you say it's more structural or cyclical? If it's cyclical, it means that it can recover in the future.
Well, obviously, oh, bloody
hell. I can still hear you, Daniel.
Oh, sorry, there was a blip here. No, as I said, what we have seen is that for example, for it to be a cyclical element, obviously, we need to look at a more sort of longer-term perspective. The big challenge of the Chinese economy is a combination of the enormous overcapacity in industry, as well as the challenges that we see, for example, in the real estate sector and the banking sector. So all those elements are not something that is going to be sorted out quickly. We have to remember that the real estate bubble of the Chinese economy is the largest ever, and that the wave of bankruptcies, the wave of working capital challenges that we have seen in the past years is something that even the Chinese government is acknowledging and trying to address in a sort of a quiet way. But when you have such an important problem of both overcapacity and at the same time a problem of real estate challenges of this magnitude, obviously what the government is going to have to understand is that it's going to take much longer than 1 year or 2 years. The only way in which it could take 1 year or 2 years is if the government accepted a massive crisis. Because the government does not want a massive crisis and wants to deal with the problem slowly and gradually, that is obviously going to make the cleanup more prolonged, and certainly is going to take, in the words of the government itself, at least 5 years to recover.
Okay, so in the beginning, you mentioned companies are operating in China or freezing their investments because of mainly 3 reasons. So keeping that in mind, in the survey, it said nearly all respondents say their China operations are still vital to their global competitiveness. So can you talk to us about this sort of opposing forces where companies are concerned on one hand, and on the other hand, they're saying they still need this market?
Yeah. Well, I think it's perfectly logical. Supply chains are becoming more complex, and the concept of nearshoring and the concept of getting as much as possible of the supply chain as close to the final market as possible remains. Therefore, China is an important market, and therefore investment in China is going to remain, but not as the sort of central point for the rest of the world. You see? So it's basically China will continue to be a headquarter for investment that in order to address the needs of customers in China, Hong Kong, and probably the neighboring countries in Asia. And at the same time, many of these companies, because of all those challenges, are going to prefer to move a significant part of their manufacturing elsewhere, closer to the rest of customers. So instead of having all of the supply chain within China and then exported to the world, is basically disaggregating the supply chain and making it more flexible and more complex.
Okay, I'll just end today's conversation with this question. Do you think there is room for mutual economic benefit between the 2 countries, that is China and the United States, under the current Chinese communist regime?
It is a challenge, but it can be, there can be a compromise, but it's obviously going to continue to be a challenge because of the elements that I mentioned prior: capital controls, currency controls, legal and investor security. The United States is used to working with countries in which legal and investor security are fully independent from the government, in which there is private property and intellectual property rights that are fully committed and fully respected, and in which there is free and open markets. Those things are very challenging, and the reason why the Chinese government has accepted higher tariffs than many would have thought a few months ago is because it prefers to keep those barriers than to lift them and then not have those tariffs.
Well, all right, Daniel, it's always good to talk to you. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Coming up, Alaska Airlines resumes flights after grounding its entire fleet. The carrier says a hardware failure at a data center is to blame. We have that and more after the break.
Hi, I'm Ty Pennington, here for Choice Home Warranty. They protect my home from expensive repairs, and they can do the same for you. No matter if it's your refrigerator, plumbing, or more than 20 other home systems and appliances, Choice Home Warranty has saved millions of homeowners a whole lot of money. For a low monthly fee, you get their nationwide network of trusted local technicians with plans that cover repairs and replacements done quickly and the right way. No more headaches searching for technicians. No more budget-breaking chaos. Just a peace of mind of having Choice Home Warranty at your service. Call Choice Home Warranty now and save big with their special offer of your first month free and free limited roof coverage. Call now.
Call Choice Home Warranty for your free personalized quote and to get your first month free. Call in the next 5 minutes, and as our special offer, you'll receive free limited roof coverage. Call now to lock in your rate and save big. Call 800-210-6422. 800-210-6422.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're going to benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
Texas lawmakers are meeting today for a special session. They'll consider laws to redraw congressional maps. The Department of Justice previously warned of unconstitutional districts. Republicans are hopeful the changes will yield 5 more Republican seats in the U.S. House. NTD's Melina Weiskup reports.
Lawmakers in Texas will convene today for a special session with 2 priorities: addressing the recent flooding and redrawing congressional districts. 3 seats currently held by Democrats are under scrutiny for being turned into so-called coalition districts, where minority groups are combined. Now Republicans plan to redraw congressional maps, hoping the changes will give them more seats in Congress.
But 5, I think we get 5. And there could be some other states. We're going to get another 3 or 4 or 5 in addition. Texas would be the biggest one.
The DOJ previously sent a letter to Texas officials calling on them to rectify racially gerrymandered districts. Democrats, though, are raising concerns that the changes will dilute minority voters.
They decided to attack 3 of the 4 seats that we have in the state. They decided to go after a Latina. They are specifically deciding to splinter the communities of common interest, as well as just blatantly say we are going to dilute minority voices.
Though the changes would give Republicans a better chance in Democrat-held districts, it will make solid Republican districts more competitive. 25 of the 38 Texas congressional seats are held by Republicans. All House seats and 1 Senate seat are up for re-election in the 2026 midterms. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
Lawmakers are entering their last week before a lengthy summer recess, but they are behind on approving government funding for 2026. 12 bills each fund meant to go to government departments, and they have yet to clear both chambers of Congress. None are scheduled for a House vote this week, while the Senate is expected to vote on its first batch. Senate Leader John Thune could ask senators to delay their recess, and President Trump has called on senators to work during the scheduled month-long break to confirm his nominees. There's also the question of whether Democrats will use their leverage to allow a government shutdown as a protest to Republicans' recent budget cuts. Since the GOP last took the majority, they've had to rely on Democrat votes to fund the government because some Republicans refuse to vote for government funding without significant cuts or policy changes. More details on the budget front will develop today and throughout the week. An Ecuadorian gang leader is extradited to the U.S. He's set to appear in federal court today. His lawyer said he will plead not guilty to charges of international drug and weapons trafficking. known as Vito, Jose Adolfo Macias Villamar, was handed over to U.S. authorities Sunday. Secretary of State Marco Rubio took to X to announce his extradition. Rubio posted, quote, "The Trump administration remains committed to ending the scourge of narco-trafficking." He also thanked Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa. Macias escaped last year from an Ecuadorian prison where he was serving a 34-year sentence for multiple convictions. He was recaptured last month. The Department of Justice says that under Macias' direction, his Los Chonorros gang committed violent acts against law enforcement, politicians, lawyers, prosecutors, and civilians. Ecuador's government says the gang exercises vast control over the nation's prisons. Microsoft dealing with an aftermath of a cyber attack on its server software. According to two of the organizations that helped uncover the campaign, the hack compromised about 100 different organizations. Researchers didn't identify the affected organizations, but said most of them were in the US and Germany. They added that the victims included government organizations and the relevant national authorities had been notified. Microsoft said the attack only applied to SharePoint servers, which are widely used by government agencies and businesses. It said that SharePoint Online in Microsoft 365 was not hit by the attacks. The FBI said yesterday it's aware of the attacks and is working closely with partners, but offered no further details. A Microsoft spokesperson said the company is working with cybersecurity partners to coordinate their response. The company has already issued security updates and urged customers to install them immediately. So far, no words on where the attack came from. Late Sunday, Alaska Airlines resumed operations after briefly grounding all of its flights for about 3 hours. An IT outage marked the second time the carrier has grounded its fleet in just over a year. The airline said third-party manufactured hardware at its data centers failed unexpectedly. The outage affected several of the airline's key systems, but hacking was not involved. Alaska said the incident wasn't related to the cybersecurity breach its Hawaiian Airlines subsidiary experienced in June. The carrier added that it's working with its supplier to replace the hardware. Alaska Airlines isn't alone when it comes to incidents like Sunday's. Last year, nearly every major domestic airline had to cancel hundreds, if not thousands, of flights after a major internet outage. A software update that cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike sent to Microsoft computers was blamed for the glitch. A Delta airline pilot said he was forced to make an aggressive maneuver to avoid a mid-air collision with a B-52 bomber over North Dakota. The incident happened on July 18th. The Delta flight came from Minneapolis and was the pilot preparing to land. He spotted a B-52 bomber in his flight path. Here is the pilot speaking after the maneuver.
Sorry about the aggressive maneuver. It caught me by surprise. This is not normal at all. I don't know why they didn't give us a heads up, because the Air Force Base does have radar, and nobody said, hey, there's also a B-52 in the pad or two. Long story short, it was not fun, but I do apologize for it, and thank you for understanding. It was not a fun day at work.
In a statement, the airline said the plane had been cleared for approach when another aircraft became visible. The pilot quickly took action to avoid a possible collision. The flight ultimately landed safely at Minot, North Dakota, after performing a go-around. The incident is under investigation by the airline. It comes nearly after 6 months an American Airlines regional jet collided with a military helicopter near Reagan National Airport outside Washington, D.C. 64 people on the plane and 3 people in the helicopter died in the January crash. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is advocating for an institutional review of the Federal Reserve. Bessent cited what he called fear-mongering over tariffs, despite the lack of impact on inflation. He's expected to give a keynote speech at the central bank this evening, kicking off a regulatory conference. Trump has repeatedly urged Powell to deliver interest rate cuts, but Powell has warned a premature cut could worsen inflation and ultimately raise borrowing costs. Trump is also taking aim at a $2.5 billion renovation at the Fed's headquarters, calling it wasteful. Powell defended the project, saying it includes major safety upgrades and the removal of hazardous materials. President Trump is weighing in on professional sports. Yesterday, he urged 2 teams that recently changed their names to change them back. The president said the NFL's Washington Commanders should go back to being called the Washington Redskins, and baseball's Cleveland Guardians should change their name back to the Cleveland Indians. Both teams changed their names years ago because their monikers were considered offensive to Native Americans. The president wrote on social media that times have changed, and he said that Native Americans support his position. Regarding the Washington Commanders, Trump said he may put a restriction on the team if they don't change back their name, adding, quote, "I won't make a deal for them to build a stadium in Washington." Coming up, what are the concerns of allowing NVIDIA's H20 chips to be exported to China? What applications can China use the chips for? We talked to a military analyst. Stay tuned.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride with being part of these multi-generational businesses. But there's also a significant amount of pressure. My senior year of high school, my dad made the decision that this world no longer needed him in it. I don't know if he was overwhelmed by the bills and checks that weren't going to be coming in because of the strawberries dying off, but it breaks my heart that my dad made a permanent decision for a temporary issue. Don't feel like you have to go through it alone.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
In the mornings, that's my time. Watching the sun come up, I can have a cup of coffee and exercise if I want to. It helps me start the day with a sense of gratitude.
Yay!
Every day is a new opportunity. Don't forget to check in on yourself. Love, your mind.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am so glad you ladies are here. You each have your own rooms. Thank you. Get settled in. I'll call you for dinner. Adopting teen sisters, it's a lot. Girls, you're gonna be late. You want breakfast? No thanks, we're good. They're always in their own world. What'd you get there? Twice the work. Twice the surprises. Just try it. But if you think of it that way, they're also twice as fulfilling. I think you should ask her yourself.
Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
The head of a House of Representatives panel on China told the U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick that resuming sales of NVIDIA's H20 chips to China threatens to advantage Beijing's AI capability. The panel leader stepping up his criticism of the decision, saying the original ban was the right call. And joining us now to discuss this is Rick Fisher, Senior Fellow on Asian Military Affairs, International Assessment and Strategy Center, and International Military Analyst. Good afternoon, Rick. So my first question to you is, what are the concerns, actually, of allowing NVIDIA's H20 chips to be exported to China, you know, in the context of AI model training, but not limited to that?
Thanks for having me. NVIDIA chips, specialized chips that are essential for artificial intelligence computing platforms, are in great demand in China. the Chinese military, the People's Liberation Army, is making an enormous effort, conducting enormous investments in trying to leverage artificial intelligence in practically all manner of military activity, be it control of unmanned armies, navies, and air forces, to the conduct of advanced lightning speed electronic warfare, to the conduct of cyber espionage, the protection of cyber networks from American cyber espionage. Artificial intelligence platforms are going to become the means by which all militaries will either win or lose wars in the future. And the chips that NVIDIA is selling China are what make the artificial intelligence platforms work.
So based on what you're saying and what I'm hearing, can I assume that this allowing the chip to be shipped to China, exported to China, that's going to actually help China's military? Is it correct to say that?
Well, yes, it is correct to say that. However, what the company NVIDIA, like many other companies engaged in both cooperation and competition with China, are facing is they lose if they don't have the ability to export their products to China. Their ability to export products funds their ability to make their next generation product, to stay competitive. The company wants to win back market share that it has lost, especially over the last year. But by doing so, NVIDIA, as many other Western and American companies, they are selling products to China that China basically automatically applies to military ends. China has taken open source large learning platforms or AI platforms made by Meta and has applied them to military tasks against our rules. There's really little way to stop China from using NVIDIA's chips for military purposes. But if we stop NVIDIA as a company, a major American company, will suffer. My solution is that we simply have to try to devise a way to equalize the pain amongst all Western exporters to China. And to do that, we need to revive a Cold War institution called COCOM, which stands for the Coordinating Committee for Multilateral Export Controls. Once all Western countries, all democracies, allied democracies, are applying the same standards, the same restrictions to their high-tech exports to China, then the burden, or pain, if you will, is at least being shared. And the result of restricting China's advance militarily is the outcome.
That's very interesting. That I've never actually heard this point where the American company actually needs China in order to develop more advanced AI chips. That's very fascinating. How important would you say is maintaining AI dominance in this AI arms race?
Essential. Artificial intelligence platforms are already being used in advanced American weapons like the F-22 and F-35 fifth-generation fighters to help pilots make decisions amongst thousands, even millions of competing data points that they must face. And AI platforms will become ever more useful as this technology advances. China, the United States, European countries are already developing pilotless fighter aircraft that can go and autonomously conduct combat operations, both offensive and defensive, with little human control. And this is also happening in other armed services, in the Army, in the Navy. They're also developing unmanned platforms. And I would say that in China, this is also happening. China is practically on the cusp of being able to mount unmanned combined arms military operations. And the ability to leverage artificial intelligence and the chips that can process the vast amounts of data in order for an AI operation to work is essential for the United States to control. It's essential that we dominate this technology. It is essential that we try to control China's access to it, at least from the Western side.
Are these NVIDIA chips that are being exported to China in general, generally speaking, are they very much a leap in capability compared to what Chinese firms can produce?
In many cases, yes. They are more advanced than what Chinese firms can produce. They are not the most advanced chips. Restrictions are being put on these chips, but they still allow China to elevate its capabilities. And this is just the evil balance that American leaders, American trade officials are forced to devise. We don't want to lose market share. We don't want our companies to lose out from not having the profits to invest in new and more advanced products. But also, we don't want to be arming our enemy and helping them to build unmanned armies, navies, and air forces that they can use to defeat ours.
Well, what are your thoughts on export controls itself? Can export controls actually slow down China's AI development?
Yes, if applied broadly and across the board, and they can be made to apply to all companies that are engaging in AI exports to China. This was the beauty of COCOM during the Cold War. It was, yes, a frustrating bureaucracy, but it also succeeded in limiting the ability of the former Soviet Union to develop technologies that would allow it to be to gain superior capabilities over the West. This was a key victory for the United States and the democracies during the Cold War. We need to revive the ability to win the next Cold War. And by winning the Cold War, we prevent hot wars from breaking out. So export controls, broad export controls of high technology products to China is now, again, very much necessary in order to win this Cold War.
Okay, just one last question real quick. I'm wondering if you agree to what a NVIDIA spokesperson said on the relaxation of restrictions. They're defending it, essentially saying America wins when the world builds on US technology. Do you agree with that?
To a certain extent, the spokesman is correct. When a company like NVIDIA is allowed to profit and develop better chips to win larger shares of the market, yes, America wins as well. But when China is able to exploit these products and build weapons that can defeat American weapons, well, no, we're losers. So we have to strike the balance. We have to, yes, ensure that our companies can profit and remain ahead technologically, but we also have to find new ways to prevent China from exploiting our technology, stealing our technology, and winning all the arms races. And we're not doing that. And my suggestion is that by reviving a bureaucracy like COCOM that can apply restrictions in all questionable areas broadly and equally amongst all of the allied democracies, then we will have a much better chance of limiting China's ability to exploit artificial intelligence technologies and thousands of other technologies to win arms races.
Well, all right, Rick, well said. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Coming up, thousands march for freedom in New York City's Chinatown, shedding light on the Chinese Communist Party's repression within and far beyond its borders. We have that and more after the break.
£6 prescription glasses from Select Specs are always great value. There are no offer codes or first-time customers only. Anyone can buy them, anytime. And you can upgrade to Select Specs Express for next day delivery. And with deferred payments, you can spread the cost.
See now, pay later with Select Specs £6 specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options available at selectspecs.com/£6.
Divinely inspired traditional oil painting inspires compassion. Artwork created in truth and beauty illuminates a path to goodness. Rediscover traditional art, revive classical culture. We warmly invite oil painters from around the world to participate in the 7th NTD International Figure Painting Competition, a celebration of classical realism. Please visit oilpainting.ntdtv.com.
With almost 4 decades in the spotlight, Cindy Crawford has never lost her stunning glow. With her gorgeous, age-defying skin, US Weekly says, whatever she's doing, it's clearly working. How does her skin still look firm, smooth, and youthful at 59? It's meaningful beauty. And now, with new advanced formulas, it's better than ever, delivering our age-defying ingredients even deeper into the skin to fight wrinkles where they begin. Just wait until you see the difference meaningful beauty can make for you.
Instant hydration, instant plumping. My skin looks amazing.
What I'm most proud of is over 5 million women have trusted Meaningful Beauty, and they're getting great results, and I get that feedback from them in airports, supermarkets, walking down the street, and I love it.
And today, we are celebrating 20 years of Meaningful Beauty with a brand new offer you don't want to miss. You can get the entire advanced Meaningful Beauty system with all 5 age-defying super treatments. And when you order today, you'll receive our Targeted Treatment Duo, a $128 value free. Introducing the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules to target crow's feet, forehead lines, and lines around your mouth. Plus, you'll also get the new Skin Renewing Facial Tool with heat, massage, and red light to boost the absorption of the wrinkle smoothing capsules and reduce the appearance of puffiness. The Skin Renewing Facial Tool and the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules together create Meaningful Beauty's amazing targeted treatment duo.
This plus this equals incredible results.
Get all this, a $300 value for just $49.95. But you must act quickly. Results guaranteed or your money back.
If you haven't tried Meaningful Beauty yet, this new offer is something you don't want to miss.
This special offer is not available in any store, so don't wait. Scan the code, call the number below, or go to meaningfulbeauty.com right now.
Six years ago yesterday, July 20th, the Chinese Communist Party launched a campaign to eliminate a spiritual meditation system called Falun Gong. Since then, practitioners of the discipline have been speaking up for human rights on the global stage by sharing the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. In New York's Chinatown, Shenyun Performing Arts joined 2,000 people at a parade calling for an end to the persecution. Shenyun's artists shared with us how the Chinese regime is now targeting them right here in America. NTD's Stefania Cox was there at the parade. Let's take a look.
In the heart of New York's Chinatown, thousands marched to mark 26 years since the Chinese Communist Party launched a violent campaign to eradicate Falun Gong, also known as Falun Dafa, a peaceful spiritual discipline based on the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. What makes this year unique is that artists from Shenyun Performing Arts also took part.
Mission to revive traditional Chinese culture. For me as a Chinese person, I think it's very meaningful. And at the same time, I'm a Falun Gong practitioner. And the persecution that has been going on for almost 26 years, right? It's 26 years today. I think it is my duty to let people know about this persecution through my art, and I think this is my meaning of life, and I find it really worthwhile.
At this time of year, Shenyun is usually busy preparing for its upcoming world tour. But recently, the Chinese regime's attacks on the group here in America have been severe. So it's been forced to come out and let the world's people know.
Ever since Shenyun was founded in 2006, the Chinese Communist Party has always tried to stop us from performing, try to cancel our theater contracts, try to pressure government officials and theaters to cancel our shows, try to stop media sponsors. But the last couple of years, and the last year in particular, we've seen an escalation of this. We point directly to leaked documents that we got from China the last couple of years talking about an escalation in an attempt to crush Shenyun and crush Falun Gong more broadly, internationally, and in America in particular.
Shenyun is a performing arts company based in New York. It was founded by Falun Gong practitioners and presents China's human rights abuses on stage. To try and sabotage the group's performances, Beijing has begun a campaign to send bomb threats to U.S. theaters, target the group's buses, launch propaganda campaigns, and weaponize social media and American media outlets against Shenyun.
Last year, Shenyun received more than 100 bomb threats, and I think it's very concerning. This persecution is not just going on in China, it's spreading to the U.S. as well, and that's very scary because it's attacking America and its very core values. It's freedom of speech, of religion, of expression, and I think that's very concerning, so that's why we're here today too.
It's part of a larger campaign known as transnational repression. The Chinese Communist Party's attempts to control and intimidate Falun Gong practitioners and others, even outside of China. The U.S. State Department has condemned the regime's persecution of the peaceful practice. The U.S. House of Representatives has also passed two bipartisan bills, the Falun Gong Protection Act and the Stop Forced Organ Harvesting Act, now awaiting action in the Senate. Since 1999, the CCP has tortured and killed thousands for practicing Falun Gong and used state-sanctioned organ harvesting to profit from their bodies.
Oh man, I hope best for them. I just, Chinese people are beautiful, so I just hope that they have a good life here.
It's an evil regime. We should do everything to act against it. Well, this is the center of freedom in the world, and I'm glad that we agree on that we're anti-CCP.
This is not just about Falun Gong. If Beijing can run this playbook, this strategy to try and silence Falun Gong here, they can use the same strategy to target anyone or any organization in America.
For many Falun Gong practitioners, this parade is more than a tradition. It's a stand for the values they believe can heal the world: truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. And this year, with Shenyun dancers stepping out of the theaters and into the streets, the message is clear. The Chinese Communist Party's repression is more than history. It's here, it's global, and it's time to face it. From dance stages to city streets, Falun Gong practitioners and the artists who represent their spirit are standing up not just for freedom in China, but for freedom everywhere. Because without truth, compassion, and tolerance, where would the world be?
Up next, a cyber attack targeting Microsoft server software hits about 100 victims, among them government agencies. What cyber experts uncovered so far? Stay with us.
I can't get a hold of my mom.
I'm sure it's nothing.
I've called her 5 times.
I'm sure she's fine.
Is Grandma okay?
Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
Don't worry, ma'am. We're sending help right now.
Hello?
Hello, this is Life Alert. Your mother had an emergency, and we dispatched paramedics to her home.
Oh my gosh, what happened?
She had a fall, but don't worry. She is safe, and the paramedics are helping her right now.
Thank you.
Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes. With one simple touch of a button, Life Alert sends help immediately. Whether it's to report a fall, a medical emergency, or an intruder, Life Alert sends first responders fast.
For a free brochure, call 800-382-9846. 800-382-9846. That's 800-382-9846.
Kim,
Kids love it. Parents trust it.
Obviously.
Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators.
This is spectacular.
Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more.
Wow.
All while having fun.
Perfect.
Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale.